In 2025, Trump's powerful tariffs have sent shockwaves across the skies, shaking the very foundations of global aviation. Boeing is in serious trouble. Ryanair is reconsidering billions in aircraft orders, and China is halting deliveries. Even Airbus isn't immune, it's rerouting jets to avoid the fallout. Ryanair, the top low-cost airline in Europe and a longtime Boeing customer, is suddenly feeling the heat from America's new tariffs. Known for its cheap tickets and rapid fleet growth, the Irish airline is now unsure if its Boeing-heavy plans still make financial sense. At the core of the issue, new U.S. export tariffs that could add billions to Ryanair's aircraft costs. CEO Michael O'Leary raised the alarm in a letter to Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, warning that these extra costs could force a major strategy shift. Let's look at the numbers. Ryanair expects 29 Boeing 737 MAX 8200s by March 2026. It also has firm orders for 150 MAX 10 jets, with options for 150 more. These planes are crucial to Ryanair's long-term game plan. They offer more seats and better fuel efficiency. But if tariffs inflate the price, O'Leary says he may look elsewhere. Here's the twist. Airbus, the obvious plan B, is fully booked through the decade. China's COMAC C919 might be an option, but it's smaller, lacks EU certification, and hasn't proven itself internationally. So Ryanair's Boeing troubles go beyond dollars. They're about balancing efficiency, legal approval, and supplier trust in a tense global market. As O'Leary suggests, this isn't just a threat, it's a real shift in strategy driven by changing trade rules that are reshaping the aviation industry. When China wants to make a statement, it doesn't hold back, it grounds planes. In response to U.S. tariffs, Beijing ordered local airlines to pause Boeing deliveries, an unmistakable blow to the American aircraft giant, which has long relied on China as a top customer. Dozens of 737 MAX 8s were scheduled for handover. Now they're being rerouted, some literally flown back to Boeing's Seattle base after waiting at Zhoushan, China. One striking example? A German Airlines jet, fully painted and prepared for delivery, was suddenly grounded, packed up, and returned to sender. But this isn't just about trade tensions. It's part of a much bigger shift in China's strategy. The country is going all in on its local aircraft maker, COMAC, and its C919 program by cutting Boeing off at the source. China is clearing its skies, literally and figuratively, to make room for its homegrown jet to finally soar. There's a twist, though. The C919 is still struggling to get certified in the US and Europe, and there are ongoing questions about how well it performs and whether it can scale. Still, China's not just fighting back, it's laying the groundwork for full industrial independence. Meanwhile, Boeing is stuck dealing with fewer global markets and rising uncertainty. Not an easy place to be when your business depends on long-term contracts and complicated supply chains. Before we go deeper, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us stay airborne and brings you even more hard-hitting updates from the fast-moving world of transportation. Now let's switch lanes and look at how Airbus is navigating this trade mess. If Boeing's struggling through turbulence, Airbus is gliding through side winds with sharp strategy. The European plane giant isn't willing to eat the cost of U.S. tariffs. If American Airlines wants a jet, they're covering that cost. Instead of paying up, Airbus is getting creative, rerouting shipments through third countries to dodge direct tariffs. Take this for example. A recent Airbus A350-900 headed for Delta Airlines made a stop in Tokyo before landing in the U.S., a move designed to avoid American import taxes while keeping deliveries on schedule. Still, not every U.S. airline is happy. With fuel prices bouncing and labor costs rising, many aren't thrilled about footing the extra bill. Airbus CEO Guillaume Faury didn't sugarcoat it. This trade fight isn't creating winners, only damaged profit margins. It shows how even giants like Airbus are twisting their supply chains to adjust. Today, it's not just about making jets. It's about rerouting smarter, redoing invoices, and keeping clients locked in, no matter the trade weather. But aviation's troubles don't stop at falling jet sales or grounded fleets. There's a much bigger picture here, one that stretches far beyond the airport gates. What's happening in the skies is shaking the foundations of the global economy. From factory floors to finance boardrooms, turbulence in aviation is becoming a warning signal for broader economic instability. When people think of aviation, they often imagine airports, ticket prices, or jet fuel. But in truth, aviation is one of the most sensitive industries to shifts in the global economy. And right now, it's acting like a barometer for broader economic stress. Let's break down what's happening. In the first quarter of 2025, the U.S. economy contracted by 0.3%. This may seem like a small dip, but it's a big deal. It's the first decline in growth in 3 years. And it wasn't caused by a sudden recession or a collapse in consumer confidence. The real culprit? A panic-driven surge in imports. Faced with looming tariffs and rising tensions, companies and shoppers rushed to bring in goods from abroad before the new taxes kicked in. This panic buying wasn't a sign of strength. It was a defense mechanism. That import frenzy led to a massive widening of the trade deficit, which economists say shaved nearly 5 full percentage points off GDP. In simpler terms, all that rushed importing dragged the economy down. Even with small gains in consumer spending and business investments, it wasn't enough to counter the negative drag. At the same time, inflation stayed stubborn, 3.6% according to the PCE index. That puts the U.S. Federal Reserve in a difficult spot. Do they raise interest rates to fight inflation, or cut them to stimulate growth? Either way, they risk making things worse on one side of the equation. Now let's look at Europe. The Eurozone did slightly better, a 0.4% rise in quarterly growth, which is about 1.2% annually. Why? European exporters got a temporary boost by hurrying their final duty-free shipments to the U.S. before tariffs took effect. It's a short-term win, not a long-term trend. Economists warn that once the tariffs fully take hold, these gains could quickly evaporate. That short-lived bump may soon give way to slowed production, weaker demand, and industrial slowdown. So, what does this all mean? This isn't just about planes or cargo shipments. It's a vivid example of how trade policies, inflation, and industrial planning are all tangled together. Aerospace is the frontline fighter, but the entire economy feels the impact. The aviation industry is entering survival mode. Airlines and plane makers are adapting quickly to an unpredictable future. Let's start with Ryanair. Europe's largest low-cost airline is now looking beyond Boeing and Airbus. They're exploring China's COMAC, specifically the C919 jet. Even though it's still wrapped in regulatory challenges and lacks a proven global track record. That's a huge signal. It means that traditional loyalty to long-standing Western manufacturers like Boeing can no longer be taken for granted. Airlines are prioritizing flexibility, cost, and availability over brand reputation. Then there's Air India. They're taking a different approach, seizing an opportunity hidden in global conflict. When China banned imports of certain Boeing jets, many US-made aircraft were left stranded. Now, Air India is trying to snap up those jets, getting ahead in line for deliveries that would otherwise take years. It's a clever workaround, and one that shows how airlines are becoming savvier in navigating supply disruptions. Airbus, meanwhile, is holding steady on its goal of delivering A220 jets by 2025. To do that, it's quietly working back-channel deals, rearranging logistics, and trying to soften the blow of rising tariffs. But even with these efforts, the entire industry is walking a tightrope. Just one political decision or supply chain delay could derail even the most careful plans. What we're seeing now is a total shift in strategy. Manufacturers are rerouting deliveries, forming new partnerships, and even rethinking who they build planes for. This is more than a detour. It's a full-scale rewrite of the aviation industry's flight manual. The turbulence isn't temporary. This isn't just a rough patch. It's a clear sign that global aviation is entering a new era. From Ryanair stepping away from Boeing, to China grounding plane orders, to Airbus dodging tariffs, each story is a thread in a much larger fabric of economic change. These aren't just one-off events. They're part of a trend reshaping global supply chains. Aviation is often seen as just another industry, but right now, it's the clearest reflection of how global trade is changing. Every decision made today, from buying planes to managing tariffs, will shape how the world flies for the next generation. So here's the big question. Will Ryanair truly switch away from Boeing? Can COMAC rise to compete with the global giants? Are we watching a short-term shakeup, or the start of a lasting shift in aviation power? We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this deep dive gave you something to think about, don't forget to subscribe to 3 Daily News and ring that bell for more sharp insights. We'll keep decoding what's going on in the skies, the roads, and the factories. So you're always in the loop. Thanks for watching. And remember, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep your gears turning. You can now click any of the videos on the screen to continue your journey. There's a lot more ahead, and we're just getting started.